Welcome to the Dice Tower, a series of video reviews about board and card games. Here are your hosts, Tom Vasel and Sam Healey.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel.
I'm Zee Garcia. Hello.
Sam Healey, what's up?
We brought him along because today we're reviewing an abstract game. It's
And
also
I like
short.
abstracts and short games.
You should upend that a lot more. 'Cause that's
All right.
not hurting people's ears.
This is Tak, I think it's pronounced.
Tack.
Tak.
I say tack, yeah.
Take.
Well, either way,
Maybe.
this is from a novel from Patrick Rothfuss, the Kingslayer's Chronicles. It's from The Wise Man's Fear. In it, he described, not Kingslayer, Kingkiller Chronicle. In it, he described the fact that the main character of this book, who's good at everything, sits down and plays this game with someone, and he says, the guy beat me 5 games in a row, but I'm happy to say he didn't beat me the same way twice. All right, fine. So then people love these books, so they say, make a game based on that. And games often based on movies or TVs or books don't always turn out so well. If you think that might not be true, go find the Star Trek 3D chess that Kirk and Spock played. Go find a copy of that.
All right, timeout. That's the only reference to this game in that book?
I don't know if it's mentioned in there more, but I think it might only be mentioned once or twice.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty small amount of referencing. They don't tell you rules or anything. That is all post-novel creation. There's nothing. It's just they mention a game.
And here it is!
Interesting.
Wait, but this is made in USA. I didn't know USA had... Okay, anyway. So this is an abstract strategy game. Here's how it plays. First thing you'll do in this game is you're going to decide how big the board is going to be. It is a 5x5 board. Here you see a 3x3, but you can also play a 4x4 and a 6x6. You would just play on the diamonds on this board. This board's a little garish, so we're going to just use this board for now. And we'll pretend that we're playing a 5x5 game. Each player is going to get a pile of pieces of their type, and that depends on how big the space is. So, for example, in this 5x5 game, each player would get 21 pieces. They would also each get a capstone. Now, the pieces are 2 different colors, but they're also 2 different shapes. On a player's turn, on the first player's turn, you're going to place one of your opponent's pieces on the board, then they'll place one of yours, and then you go first. So, what you can do on your turn is you can place a piece. You can place one of your stones, these are called stones, and you can place it so that it's a flat stone anywhere on the board. You can place it so it's a standing stone anywhere on the board, or you can place your capstone on the board. So placement is one thing you can do on your turn. Another thing you can do is to move. Now when you move, you see how many pieces are in the stack, and that's how far it can move. So the stack is 1, so I can move this 1 space in that direction. If there's another piece where you're moving to, you can move on top of that piece. Only the person who's on top can move, and if you move, you can move up to 5 pieces in a stack, and you can move up to the distance of the number of pieces that you move. And it's not that 5 pieces, on this board it's 5 pieces. It would be how big the board is how many pieces you can move together. When you move, each space you move, you have to drop off at least 1 piece. Although I could do this, I could move here and drop this off like that and be done. These pieces can also move, the standing pieces. However, no piece can go on top of a standing piece, which makes them very useful to block. You can also not go on top of the capstone. So real quick, the goal of the game is to build a path from one side of the board to another. So you can see here is a path from one side, the capstone counts. A standing stone, however, does not count. This does not build a path yet, so I would need to move that and get a piece in there that's laying down. A capstone has the ability, if it moves, and it moves by itself, to flatten a stone. And so you can see that the whole point of the game is going to be moving these pieces around. So let me show you real quickly here a 3-player game. So let's say these are where the pieces start. So the dark brown player, let's say they go first. So they put one here. They're about to win. So the white player moves one there. Now the brown player decides to go there. So the white player says, all right, they're going to put a standing piece here. And then the brown player decides to move 2 pieces off and just move them 1 space. So then the white player builds another standing stone here. The dark player plays a player here. The white player plays one here. The dark player will move one here. The white player moves a piece on top of that one. The dark player plays a piece here. The white player is going to move one in that direction. The dark player is going to put a piece here. The white player moves on top of that one. The dark player places a standing one there. The white player moves like this. The dark player moves 1, 2, dropping this one off in here. And then the white player drops a piece there. They do not win, though, because this one is standing. By the way, I'm kind of making a lot of these moves randomly, but I'm showing you a little bit about how the game works. This piece goes here, and then the white player places a piece here. The dark player moves 1, 2, 3. The white player moves 1, 1, 2. The dark player places a piece here, and the white player goes 1, 2. Oh, and that is 1 for the dark player. That was a foolish move on their half to make. But that kind of gives you kind of an overhaul of kind of a game. And this is a very tight game, a 3x3, a very tight game. You don't even use the capstones in a 3x3. You don't use the capstones, so you play 5x5. You can even play an 8x8 if you get a board big enough and you want to. But that's generally how the game works. First person to make a row all the way across is the winner. Now, this game is not as badly played as the version I just showed you, okay? I did a sample 3-player game. A 3x3 game, which was pretty bad.
Right.
You're going to watch that, and you're going to be like, you could have done this, and I was just trying to show you some of the moves, so I'm actually pretty ashamed of that now. But this game is a 2-player game that feels as slimmed down as an abstract can get. There are abstracts that have a lot of rules. There are abstracts that have a few rules, and there are ones that have like 1 or 2 rules. And I usually find that the 1 or 2 rule ones are usually best.
Yes, if that's coupled with some good fluidity in game. And I think this game does do that. Okay? It's far-reaching implications of just a couple of rules. And by that, I'm mainly referring to the cascading moves in this game are really fairly open-ended, you know? Especially when you play on a bigger board. Say if you're playing 5x5, you get a few pieces stacked up. The cascading move off of that one tower,
Gotcha, yeah.
The implications there are pretty far-reaching. You can do a lot, right?
Yeah, you can.
And so I agree with you there that just a few rules, as long as the fluidity is in place, will give you probably the best abstracts, yeah.
I'd like to give you guys some strategy tips, but I am by far the worst of the 3 of us.
I guess that's true statistically. He's lost them.
Well, I know
He lost the
I was
most.
watching you two play, and you won a game, and you didn't even realize you won.
I didn't, yeah. That was one of the little test ones.
That's
so.
one thing I want to talk about. First of all, the pieces of the game are really nice. They're nice wooden. The 2 sides of the board, I really like the non-flowery one. The flowery one is just almost distracting.
The wood panel version.
Yes, I like
And
that
I'm not a
side.
huge fan of playing on the dots. I'd rather play in the squares.
Correct.
Not a huge deal, right? But the other thing is the size of the game. It goes 3, 4, 5, 6. In a 3 or 4 player game, you don't get to use
You mean
your
size, not
the
players,
size.
yes.
The size of the game. You don't get to use the
large
Capstone?
piece, the
the capstone
yeah,
piece. Right. I don't like the smaller games as much. I compare it to a knife fight in a closet type thing. I would say telephone booth, but they don't exist anymore.
I guess that's true. We have to sort of evolve
Hardly.
that, say.
Hardly, that's true, yeah.
Okay.
What's
That's
a
true.
phone booth?
But anyway, with the 3-player game, it could be over in like 4 moves. I know this.
It's too tight. It's too.
It's a tight game no matter what.
It will force you the next move too often is the problem, right? Like you do this thing, I have to do this.
Yes.
And I don't like that. You
Right.
got to give me some choices, allow for mistakes,
Yeah.
that are not, I didn't see it.
Right.
So I agree with you. My favorite, I think, is a 5x5 because it's not too long. A 6x6 game will just be longer.
Yeah.
A 5x5 gives you the capstone, gives you all the moves, allows you to set up long-reaching, implications without that whole forcing your hand too often. So yeah, and the wooden panel board is the 5x5 straight up, which is my favorite way to look at the game and to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
So that all just clicks for me.
Yeah.
Well, you're not a huge abstract fan. What did you
No, I'm
think
not.
of this?
I'm not. This is not. Again, abstract games usually are not the ones that have a whole bunch of rules that you were referencing earlier, those are the ones that I stay away from.
Oh, I mean, even chess has a whole pile of rules because you got to know how all the pieces move. You grew up with chess, right?
Yes, I did, which is why that one gets a pass.
But if you had been taught chess, that's a lot of rules.
This is true. This is true. So this one is right down my alley as far as abstracts are concerned. I usually, though, want my abstract games to look better than this one does. Not to say that this looks bad.
I think they actually went for the fact they were trying to make this look like it actually could be in that novel.
Gave it a very rustic feel. I understand that, and I'm fine with that. That's okay. But usually, an abstract of this level, I want it to look, I want it to pop on the table. This one really doesn't do that. It's very bland. It's very monochromatic, and I don't really like that about the game. But the gameplay is the kind of abstract game that I enjoy playing. A one-on-one battle of not really wits, but of I guess it is wits, isn't it? Of battling minds and that type of thing. So,
yeah, I like the look of the game. All right. At first, one of my concerns was that I did not like that the two different player pieces were actually a different shape for no reason.
Makes no sense, but all right.
I guess it was maybe a color blind date. It could very well be.
I think it's fine. I still don't understand how that's even.
No, I grew out of that issue. I was again concerned about it before I played it. Once I played it, I was worried about just visual messiness. It's not a problem. It looks fine. I don't like the box, though. The look of the box I find very early 2000s Toys R Us. You know, I don't like that look.
I don't know. I think
they're
it's fine.
going for, again, the look of the game on the table. It looks like it could be out of a novel. This box certainly has nothing that looks like it could be out of a novel. You know what I mean? I just don't like the look of the box.
All right, well, after Zee's done his now 5-minute thing on the box. So the game itself, the rules give you some tips, and it's really going to be one of those games where someone better at the game is going to whoop up on someone who doesn't know it. I played against a designer, and I got whooped up on. You know, it's one of those games where you're watching the moves, and you have to think several moves ahead, really, as the game goes by. You definitely want to get a bunch of your pieces out there. You can be tricked into moving pieces at the beginning, and then suddenly you realize you have 3 pieces to your opponent's 6. It's hard to recover from that. It's an interesting game. You mentioned how you want to make a mistake. I don't know how you can ever make a mistake in this game. This game is a brutal game. You mess up once, you've lost.
If your opponent picks up on it.
My opponents always do.
If your opponent doesn't pick up on the mistake, you can recover from it. But if he does pick up on it, I think you're probably right.
And I think the bigger the board, the more you're allowed to make mistakes.
True.
Either way, I think this is one of the best abstracts of the year, which is not saying a whole lot usually because there's not that many great ones. But this year we've already seen Santorini, and now we see this one, and that's pretty solid. This is a game that I think people will still be playing years from now.
Yes.
There's a lot of abstract games come and go. I think this one will stick around partially because it's piggybacked on a very hot intellectual property.
Yeah.
But it's also a good game. It's not just some, hey, let's make some game that will sell based on this
It does have almost an auto classic feel to it.
It does. It's got that.
pretty cool.
It nails that vibe, which is important for an abstract.
Correct.
So I will give it 1.5 popular books up.
1.5 popular books up.
That was pretty lame.
I'm going to give it...
I've read these novels and I couldn't think of something in the novel that...
You have read them?
I have.
Okay, well, I'm just going to give it 1.5 capstones up.
That's good stuff. I was going to
so
say...
much
I was actually going to give it 1.5 as well. I was going to say walls up, but
Walls.
that now seems lame. So I'm going to give it 1.5 ugly boxes up.
Ooh.
Can't get over this boxing.
That's right. I said it
Anyway,
again.
that's a lot of thumbs anyway for an abstract game. Certainly check it out. That's TAC. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel.
Zee Garcia, thanks everybody.
Sam Healey. See you on the flip side.
Thanks for watching our review today. For more information about board games, as well as the #1 board game audio podcast, check out Dicetower.com for reviews, interviews, and more. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.